All right, what's up, guys? I have a new theory on the market, and the best way to just get this across rather than a long Twitter thread is just to make a quick video. So right now we're experiencing something really odd, which is essentially crypto is now seeing a relative strength in comparison to equities. So that's very interesting. Truthfully, every single time that we've seen this, it has always been crypto is just lagging. Right, so people love to make the argument of, "Oh, hey, stocks are going up, but, Bitcoin isn't, and it's just lagging," and usually, it's actually that Bitcoin is just weaker, right? And then towards the opposite side, they always argue, "Hey, equities are going down and Bitcoin isn't," right? And instead of making the exact same argument that they just made, which is, "Hey, it's lagging," right? Uh, they say, "Oh, it's stronger," right? So how is it that when equities go up, Bitcoin is lagging, right? But then when equities go down, Bitcoin is stronger. It doesn't make sense. The reality of the situation, as of the past year, has always been every single time equities go up and Bitcoin doesn't, it's weaker, and every single time that equities go down and Bitcoin doesn't, it's lagging, right? It's and it eventually follows course. The reality of the situation right now is we have seen something totally opposite, right? And we saw this back in March too. So, people are making the exact same argument. We saw the exact same thing back in March. Equities were breaking into new lows, I believe. I want to say, don't quote me for it, but I want to say equities started to make new lows somewhere around this region, and Bitcoin is still holding on to the range. So people are saying, hey, it's stronger, blah, blah, blah. The reality was it was just lagging, right? I've been making this argument over and over and over and over again, and it's worked every single time that I've ever applied it for the past year. The new sort of take is mostly just speculation, right? Where now I'm starting to become not necessarily a believer, but I want to attribute the reality of Bitcoin in comparison to equities to something different, right? And I'm not much of a speculator. I'm not much of I don't know much about narratives. I don't care about fundamentals, anything like that. 99.99% of the time, I will just sit here and watch whatever the chart is doing. If we're heading to the bottom right corner, then that's going to be my thoughts. If we're heading to the top right corner, that's my thoughts, right? Um, I'm going to still do that, but I want to speculate a little bit. So my speculation is going to stem off of the fact that we've seen a massive capitulation on things like Bitcoin and other cryptos more so than we've seen on equities, right? Where we've seen, big hedge funds or trading firms or whatever things like Three Arrows Capital capitulate, right, and be forced to liquidate their assets, etc. And that has now created a fair value that is mispriced for the current environment. That's what I'm going to label it as, right? So as of recent, Bitcoin has managed to find a fair value somewhere around 20.3K. You can portray this thought in several ways. Even if you want to use something like volume weighted average price and anchor it from the start of the range, this would kind of tell you that Bitcoin's fair value is somewhere roughly around like 21K, right? So I'm going to say if Bitcoin's current fair value is 21K, maybe the proper fair value in comparison to what happened in the markets, or maybe where we should be trading at, had those big liquidations and sell-offs and capitulations not occurred, is maybe like 24, 25K, right? Hence the reason we've managed to hold up thus far, right? So that's sort of the narrative that I'm gonna stem off of. Now, this does not make me bullish in the grand scheme of things, not at all. I do not go bullish until the chart goes bullish, right? The fact that we're at range lows is comforting. The fact that we've maintained range lows as equities continue to make lower lows is comforting. Most of the time, it gets attributed to lag. I think this time around, it might be a little bit different. I think we're going to see something a little bit different. So I would not be surprised if the range continues ranging. We go from range lows into mid range and into range highs, and maybe even above range highs and into something like our 200 daily moving averages, right? The reason this wouldn't shock me all too much is because people are getting very scared about equities at the moment. And at the moment, equities are at an 11-year long trend support. Right. So every single time that we've tested this region relatively, right? So I had somebody respond on Twitter and say, "Oh, how come 2020 doesn't count?" Right? Well, in hindsight, this is a test just as much as this is, and that is, and we're currently testing, and that is, and that is, right? And you're going to look at me and you're going to say, Mercury, that's not fucking fair because there's like a negative 20%, negative 30% difference, right? In between all of that stuff, right? Negative 20, it's really like negative 16. So we drop negative 16% below. Oh my God, Mercury, that's not fair to call that a test. Well, uh, my guy, just so you know, I'm not using the 200 moving averages the same way that you're probably using them. I don't use them as a, precise bottom and, top indicator. I'm not trying to be a genius here. I don't care about the 200 weekly moving averages that much, right? The main thing that I do or that I use them for is to portray the trend, right? So essentially, if I'm portraying the trend, I'm telling myself and giving myself a digestible sort of, actionable portrayal, right? As to something that I already fucking know. I already know that as of the past 11 years and really longer than that, that SPY, right, the S&P 500 ETF has always gone up. It's just gone to the top right corner. It's continuously made these new all-time highs, right? As a result of maintaining the 200 weekly moving averages. Now, if we had dumped through this bearish retested and then, either made a lower low or even a higher low, right? Then it would be unfair to say, oh, we've just tested these 200 weekly moving averages as major support each and every single time, right? Because then we would have trended below the 200 weekly moving averages. So that would actually be a deviation, right? Or an exception to that rule. But because we basically, gap straight through them, like nosedived right below, and then said, nope, we don't deserve to be trading here, right? And immediately sort of V reversed. In my mind, that is still a test, right? So we're testing 11-year trend long support. So maybe, just maybe, the 11-year trend support continues to act as support. Did we ever fathom that idea? Right? And remember, I'm the same guy who said this time around. I mean, I literally have a tweet and it was at, 365 SPY right before this major rally. We're all caught off guard. We're all saying, oh man, nobody ever saw this coming. It's a relief rally, just short, 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 short. Meanwhile, I'm saying, hey, it doesn't really make sense to be macro bearish right here, right now. Yes, we are downtrending and we have been downtrending as of the past 6 or 7 months, but you need to also acknowledge the context of that situation, which is we're at 11-year long trend support, right? So you have to find the nice little middle ground between the trader who's won the past 6 or 7 months and the investor that has won the past 11 years, right? The traders over here won for about 3 or 4 months. It didn't matter. The traders over here won for about 3 or 4 months. It didn't matter. The traders over here won for about 6 months or so. It didn't matter, right? And this time around, too. So you have to find that nice little middle ground. So if we bounce from here and the strength that is relative strength to equities from crypto just gets exaggerated that much further, I think it's going to spark another narrative which is, oh my God, Bitcoin is now the safe haven. It's outperforming. Look at it go. And crypto is a higher beta, and everybody needs to be playing crypto and blah 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 blah. When reality, I think it's just going to be a narrative that is just kind of pulled out of thin air, and it's creating this new hope using like bits and pieces of broken glass to try and form this mirror so that we can reflect this narrative onto retail plebs so that we can dump on their heads all over again. And I think it's just going to be something that sparks a new sort of fire, a new hope. Shout out Star Wars, right? A new hope into the market. And then we're just going to essentially trade at whatever a fair value for Bitcoin is, sort of, disregarding the major liquidations and capitulation esque candles that we've gotten in the past couple months or so. We'll find out what the fair value is, and then sellers are going to have new coins to sell, right? Because they're going to be buying that rally on the way up. They're going to be FOMOing in at the top. Leverage is going to, potentially skyrocket, and people are going to start betting on this narrative with the idea of a macro sort of generational bottom, and then the momentum starts all over again and we head to the downside. And then that time around, I wouldn't really be too surprised if we did break the 200 weekly moving averages on something like SPY, if we did break down below, something like 18.8K range lows for BTC, right? And then we can kind of go from there. I would not be surprised if that happens at all. And actually, if I had to bet on it right now, if you pointed a gun to my head, that's actually what I would bet on. In the meantime, if the range breaks down and resumes the trend that has been the trend for the past year for BTC, right? And the downtrend that has been a downtrend for the past year continues downtrending, there's no fucking shock there. There's no shock factor at all whatsoever. You should not be caught off guard. That is inexcusable. In my opinion, that is inexcusable. So, regardless of what happens, if this speculative, narrative shift with all this bullshit ideas, whether it's, if it even happens, if it gets attributed to my narrative or a totally different one that I'm way off base, and yet my narrative, quote unquote, works out because I bet on the coin flip to the upside and I ended up being right. Right. Whether that plays out or not, the only way to win in markets is to adapt. And I would hope that that's the case, right? I would hope that regardless of any sort of forecasting or narratives or bias, I would hope that at the end of the day, we're just going to take whatever the chart is telling us at face value for what it is, acknowledge it, and then look to trade it. So the only way to win is to adapt. In my opinion, this is more like a game of chess. I'm always trying to think a couple steps ahead. I'm starting to see a little bit of like a seed that got planted and we're just now starting to water it a little bit. So if that seed sprouts into something bigger, then I'm going to just be able to adapt that much easier. And if that seed never sprouts from that soil, then what did I really expect, right? It's on me, and it's my fault because we were downtrending, and I knew that, and I've known that since November of 2021, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's more speculative in nature. It's not really much to do with my system. It's more just kind of me rambling about some thoughts that I might have. And yeah, if none of this ever plays out, I will not call back to this video ever. And if it does play out, you will absolutely bet your ass that I'm going to come back and claim clout on this a million times over. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Really quick, for the next 2 days, so end of September, I'm giving away an iPhone 13 to anyone who signs up to my Bybit referral link and deposits $10. And that actually really helps me out a lot. It helps me keep my partnership with Bybit, and it's the best way to support me. And it gets you on my ref link, and I do make money from that. Not a lot, right? At the moment, not a lot. So just so you know, I don't want to seem like I'm a shitty grifter or anything. I want you guys to know where I'm at, but I am kind of trying to give people an incentive to sign up through my Bybit referral link, and that is an iPhone 13 giveaway, which I'm going to, pick a winner, or my Bybit account manager will pick a winner sometime after September. So you still have 2 more days as of this video being uploaded to participate. I hope that, good luck. And yeah, I hope you joined the video. So thanks so much and much love. Take it easy.